What's going on, guys? Dropadooski here. Today we're going to be going over the day one T13's guide for the Wizard. Now the Wizard is getting the Firebird set as its Hedrig's gift for completing the seasonal journey, which is a very strong set. Now typically it's the strongest set for solo pushing, but you can utilize it to do some speed farming early on in the season. Now I do want to do a big shout out to everybody from the Twitch stream yesterday. I did work on this guide yesterday with the community, and everybody was, you know, super into it and super helpful. Thank you all so much, dude. Fist pounds to everybody out there that helped us come up with this. And we actually came up with 2 viable builds that will work with this gear. So I'll go over both of them. First we'll walk through the Meteor setup, which is going to be the strongest, and then the alternative variation if your RNG won't give you all the items you need for Meteor. So let's jump over and start going through this. Now the 6-piece Firebird set is what you get for free. So you're going to get this right off the bat once you get your solo 20 down and get your seasonal journey completed. This set is very powerful. Basically, this set works around igniting enemies, and the way that you ignite enemies is having 3 different fire abilities on your bar, and any mob that gets set on fire by all 3 of these abilities becomes ignited. Now ignited enemies increase your damage by 200% and reduce the damage you take by 3%. This effect can stack up to 20 times. Now the exception here is elite packs. If you ever ignite an elite pack, you get the max 20 stacks automatically, and those stick around until that elite pack dies. So a strategy that you'll use in solo pushing is igniting an elite pack and then kind of keeping it near you as you move through the rift. With this one, since you're in a speed farming build and everything's going to be dying, some little tips and tricks that you can do is if you get a yellow pack, its minions are still considered part of that elite. So you can still kill the yellow. If you leave one of its minions ignited, you're still going to maintain that 20 stacks and that minion will just follow you around. But honestly, things are catching fire so quickly you don't really have to focus on that. I just wanted to throw that in there. So you get your 6-piece bonus. The first 2 things that I would be going for are my weapons. So you need a Death Wish, which is a one-handed sword. You're going to be upgrading yellows in the cube to get this Death Wish, or, you know, hope, pray to RNGesus for the drop early. While channeling Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, or Ray of Frost, all damage is increased by up to 325%. So this is what makes the Meteor Wizard work. Then you're going to be also upgrading legendary staffs in the cube to get the Grand Vizier, reduce the arcane power cost of Meteor by 50%, and increase its damage by 400%. These 2 items right here are going to give you enough damage to do, you know, all the way up to T10 and higher, just with those 2 items and the set bonus. Now there are more multipliers and more items, and we're going to go through those now. Now the next 2 pieces I would prioritize are going to be your Nilfer's boost, the boots, and your Etched Sigil. Now the Nilfers increase the damage of Meteor by 600%. When Meteor hits 3 or fewer enemies, the damage is increased by up to 900%. So this is another huge multiplier that's going to be helping out with the damage and push you up to even higher torments. If you don't have these early on, you can still run around with the items that we went through first. That's why I work through these things. So first biggest multipliers, then move into your secondary prioritization, which is these boots and the Etched Sigil. The Etched Sigil, while channeling Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, and Ray of Frost, the damage of arcane power spenders is increased by 150%, and you also cast one of your damaging arcane power spenders every second. Now what that means is, when I'm casting Disintegrate, you see how meteors are flying immediately down? This will always spray meteors out because Meteor is our only arcane spender here, and that's how you kind of manipulate these Meteor setups. You have your Disintegrate or your Arcane Torrent that you're, you know, spamming in the rift, and it's going to pick randomly through your arcane spenders and start casting them. When you only have one on your bar, it can only be meteors, so it's always going to be meteors. So you really want to get this Etched Sigil quickly. Before you have it, this will not automatically cast, so you will have to cast them. But as you can see here with the other items, it's not a lot of arcane power, so you can run around and cast these things and still be doing okay as you go through. And then using your Disintegrate, you have Spark Flint automatically lighting things up, you have Magic Weapon automatically lighting things on fire, so you can still do things in T10 and whatnot just by casting manual meteors and doing okay. But once you get the Etched Sigil, you're good to go, and all you have to do is this. is just hold down your disintegrate ray. So from there, that's basically everything that you need to make this build work. Now the rest of these items are going to be quality life and survivability items. So we're going to be talking about the Aquila first. You're going to get yourself an Aquila Cuirass. This is a chest piece that will reduce damage while above 90%. All damage is taken is reduced by 50%. 50% damage reduction, super huge. Once we get beyond T8, T9, survivability is the issue, not damage. So that's what these items are going to be designed around. The next one is Hergbrash's Binding. Reduce the arcane power cost of Arcane Torrent, Disintegrate, and Ray of Frost by up to 65%. So that's going to enable you to spam this thing without really losing any arcane power whatsoever, and keep that Aquila Cuirass buff up all the time. Now the one thing I want to touch on here is, in order to do this setup with the Aquila, like say for instance you couldn't get the Aquila and you only had the Nilfers, and you don't have a Ring of Royal Grandeur yet, you can put the Nilfers in the cube and just go from there, and just make sure to stay away from the mobs. Keep yourself as far away as possible. If you get ranged mobs, you're going to be in trouble. But I would say it's really, really good to invest the time in farming the Ring of Royal Grandeur. You're going to be using it on multiple builds throughout the season, so it's good to get one early. I would just go in with your 4-man group or jump into one of these communities here. The community that is called Bounty Split Farming, or any of those, and just get in, do those Act 1s, get that Ring of Royal Grandeur. Once you have that Roared, you can wear the Nilfers, also use Aquila Cuirass, and you're good to go on that. From there, the only other piece that we really need to get is the Halo here, and you can go with either survivability ring. You can go with this one or the frozen one. What is that called? Halo of Arlise, I think, or something. Let's see, I should have one. We'll just look in the cube, it should be right there. So you use Halo of Carini for the storm armor damage reduction, the Halo of Arlise for the ice armor. Now if you get either one of these that you get, use it in the cube and then change out your ability here. So it's storm armor for Carini, which is the one that I prefer, and if you get this Halo of Arlise, you're going to switch that over to ice armor and take crystallize. So it's just going to be dependent on which ring you get, but you have a little flexibility there in regards to RNG. And then the other pieces are quality of life, right? Take the best amulet that you can. Anything that's rolled well with crit int, and then on the ring slot I put Oculus here because it's nice to be able to stand in Oculus rings, especially since you're not going to be having a follower if you're running in groups, but you could put a yellow ring in that slot too. And that's it, you know. Nemesis bracers, standard, you want Nemesis bracers, you're going to put fire element on anything that you can, as this is a fire build, the Firebird set, and the Nemesis bracers is going to give you extra packs. So I'm going to quickly touch on the variant here. Now, the variant is going for twisters instead of meteors. Now, if you get yourself a twisted sword and a Ransler's Folly, this one does less damage, right? Because the one thing that you're losing is the Nilfer's Boots. Now, the Nilfer's Boots give you a giant damage buff to the meteors. You're gonna lose that multiplier. This thing still does enough damage to do T13. It's a little slower, but it also has a lot more survivability. When you get these Ransler's Folly bracers, it pulls everything into a nice little tight group with the twister. So your disintegrate ray is going to be automatically casting twisters out here where your mouse is, and everything that runs into it just gets pulled in, and then the twisters delete them. It's really, really cool looking. All right, now we're going to jump into the abilities and go through them really quick. So you have Familiar Sparkflint. While the Familiar is active, you gain 10% increased damage, gives you more damage, and also lights things on fire. Disintegrate Convergence. This gives you the double beam. Disintegrates damage is increased by 250% weapon damage every second, up to a maximum total of 890. Your damage output is not coming from disintegrate, it's coming from meteors, so you're going to go ahead and just pick this as your fire thing and your spender. Meteor shower, this puts meteors everywhere. This also is your spender that is going to be automatically cast from edge. Sigil. Teleport Calamity. I like to use Calamity. Storm Armor, Power of the Storm. Reduce the arcane power cost of all skills by 3 while Storm Armor is active. This is up all the time, so it's going to allow you to just spam more stuff as you're going through. And then Magic Weapon Ignite. Enemy attacks have a chance to burn enemies being one of those 3 fire procs for the Firebird set. For my passives, I have Galvanizing Ward, which is a shield, Illusionist, which enables you to get more teleports since this is not an Ingeon build, Audacity, deal 30% additional damage to enemies within 15 yards, and then Unstable Anomaly. This is just your oh shit passive in case you take extra damage. Now we're going to do a quick demonstration of this build in a Rift, and then I'm going to come out, I'm going to switch over to Twister, and then show you what the Twister looks like, and then we'll wrap this up. So let's jump into a T13 just to show you guys before we get in. None of my Paragons are in. All I have is the movement speed, and this thing works fine. It is a little squishy, right? It's Firebirds. That's historically gonna be squishy. So that's why I was saying before, the Twister one is actually better for survivability. It is going to help keep you alive. You want to get everything lit up and on fire, and then things just die. You know, if you have yourself an Oculus, stand in it, of course. And this is just, if you look below, I only have 1 Firebird Ignite up, right? When you get the pack, you're automatically going to get 20. That's when you're going to see the real heavy damage output. And it's pretty cut and dry, right? All I'm doing is spamming Disintegrate and teleporting into enemies as I go. Remember though that this thing is kind of squishy, so you want to try and keep yourself away from things. And remember that the way that your passive works that gives you those teleports, so now I have 20 stacks. Now I have an Elite ignited, things are just blowing up, right? Boom, that's easy peasy. So what I'm going to do here is do one more pack so that you can see this again, and then I'm going to go to town quickly and show you what the Twisters looks like. Now the Twisters thing is really cool. You don't have to do it. This is kind of just, you know, and all of these guides, it's been pretty linear. Go for this, do this thing. This gives you that option to do one other thing instead, just depending on your RNG. And I will touch on these legendary gems. We can do that now. I use the Go-Go Swiftness at level 25. This gives you dodge chance, more attack speed, and cooldown reduction to give you a couple more teleports. Bane of the Trapped, level 25, and then I take a Bane of the Powerful. If you're playing a different game mode, you could also take like a Esoteric or a Mutilation Guard, give yourself a little more shields. Now let's equip this quickly, and we'll talk about the changes, and then I'll jump back in and kill a few things so you can see it. So same exact gems, almost all the same exact gear, everything here except for I'm still using a Roarg. I have Mantle of Channeling to give me a 25% damage increase as I'm always channeling, and then in the cube I'm taking Twisted Sword, which gives you a buff to the Twisters that come out, and the Ransler's Folly, which pulls them all together. And here I'm going to have Twister, Energy Twister, the fire one, instead of Meteors. So let's rebuff here and jump back in, and I'll show you what the Twisters look like. Now it does kill things slower, that's totally the case, but it's still pretty damn cool. So if we come out, you see how the Twisters like grouped everything up and keep them off of you? The Twisters will go in and just slay stuff. It's a little bit slower, but it does work, right? So the idea of these things, and now we're going to get our 20 stacks, stand in Oculus, and you're seeing the Juggernaut just kind of get slayed. It'll work. The Twisters are going to go ahead and slice everything to bits. So it's nice that you can do something different. I also like the idea of just permanently spamming Twisters out, which is really cool as far as I'm concerned, and it gives you an alternative thing that you can do. The Meteors is going to be more damage, so you should probably stick to Meteors, but I did want to demonstrate that you can do both. That's pretty much it, guys. This Firebirds is pretty straight up. It's going to be a lot of fun, and one of the other benefits to this, for all of you guys out there that do not want to run Rothma speeds this season, Star Pact, the Meteor Wizard that drops the Mega Meteor in the center, is the main damage killer for the regular standard 4-man meta now. So starting with this character, if you're in a 4-man group, is not necessarily a bad thing. You're going to be getting most of the gear that you need for Star Pact right off the bat, and then you can go into standard 4-man meta with your team and start slaying. So if you get a 4-man group and you're going to run 4-man metas, the ideal setup would be one person's on the monk, they're going to carry on bells, you have a Leap Quake Barb at the beginning who's going to be slowly gearing his support barb. You're going to have a necromancer that'll get carried by the monk and the wizard to get his gear for the boss killer. And then you have your wizard here, and your wizard is going to be basically decked out to do Star Pact within the first day or so. So that's really, really cool. Everybody, thank you guys so much. Don't forget, come by the Twitch channel anytime. Hit me up. We're going to be going ham for the beginning of the season. We're going to be starting at 5:30 PST. Wait, that's 4:30 MST. Yeah, so we'll be starting at 5 MST on Friday. We're going to go all night long until the morning. We will be taking part in Level with the Cause, Wolfcrier's charity fundraiser. We've done this for the past couple of seasons. It's a really, really cool thing. Shout out to Wolf and all the other streamers that take part of it, and to all of you guys out there that have donated to these causes. Thank you guys, everybody in my community, dude. It means a lot, and we've slayed these things every single time. Don't forget, stop by the Twitch channel anytime, Monday through Friday. It's twitch.tv/dropadooski. I start at noon MST, and I go all the way into the evening, guys. I hope you enjoy this starter guide, and I'll be getting out the... what are the remaining ones? Barbarian and Necromancer here very shortly. Thank you all. Good luck in Season 13, and good luck in the Grifts. Peace.